right, our next item is a follow-up on past commission action, the Bey case, noticing the federal monitor. So today I'm here before you to address a matter that has haunted the Oakland community for nearly 2 decades. The unsolved killing of Waajid Bey in 2004. This tragic incident has left behind a trail of unanswered questions and allegations, casting doubt on the adequacy of the police investigation and raising concerns about potential racism and anti-Islamic bigotry. Our commission has devoted significant time and discussion to this matter, taking action by requesting the Inspector General to review the case in 2021. On May 11th of this year, we received confirmation that the Inspector General will not be investigating issues of racial profiling or religious animus related to the case. Furthermore, we have determined that reopening the investigation through CIPRA would be impractical due to their current capacity and prior commitments to other cases. While progress has been made, I firmly believe that our commission can and must do more to address this wound within our community. Today, I bring this matter before you to request that we follow up on a letter sent during our April 1st, 2019 commission meeting, which is included in your agenda packet. Given the limited capacity of our commission, I propose that we notify the NSA Court and Federal Monitor, providing them with any updates and documentation we have since the 2019 letter. I urge you to vote in favor of having our attorneys draft a follow-up letter to the Monitor and Court, seeking their investigation into the following crucial issues. Was there a proper investigation into the murder of Waajid Bey? If not, what were the reasons for its neglect? If an investigation was conducted, was it carried out diligently and thoroughly? If not, what factors contributed to its shortcomings? Did racism, racial profiling, anti-Islamic bigotry, or religious animus influence any decision-making in relation to this case? Regardless of the initial investigation, is there any action that can be taken now, by whom or which agency, to bring justice to this case? I understand that this case has grown cold over time, and the deadline for disciplinary action under 3304 has long passed. However, I emphasize that this remains a matter of utmost priority. Our pursuit of answers is not driven by a desire for disciplinary measures, but by our commitment to justice and ensuring the truth prevails. This case presents an opportunity for our commission to address a community concern that has yet to find a satisfactory resolution. It is within our power to bring attention to the court through this notice. We cannot overlook the importance of addressing racial and religious discrimination, particularly considering that our commission's work is rooted in the pursuit of justice following a well-known case of racial discrimination. It is our duty to see this through, as justice should be accessible to all, regardless of their position in society. Together, I hope we will take a step forward in our quest for truth and justice, and I implore you to support a motion in advocating for the resolution that our community deserves. And thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. Appreciate your statement. One of the things that I would like to ensure that our attorneys do is, at the very least, demand an acknowledgement as well as a timeline for response, because when we sent the letter back in 2019, there was none of that. Now, we know they got it, but we didn't get any response. And I know that myself included, but community as well, expected that we would and that we should. So therefore, I think it's exceedingly important for us to underscore the fact that this is the second time in as many years that we have followed up for inquiry and have been swept aside, cast aside, disregarded, whatever you want to call it. But I think the letter should be much more firm, and it should, at the very least, demand an immediate acknowledgement with a timeline for follow-up.
Vice Chair.
I do believe that the the dark cloud of the Knox and Ross report kind of hangs over us. It feels as though we are hiding something, and that has never been our intent. I think that we had misgivings around some of the recommendations within the Knox and Ross report based on their sort of based on legal advice, honestly, around how we might pursue those. And at the time we reviewed it, it simply felt as though it was not something that was within our purview. It is my understanding that this case has previously been put forward to the Department of Justice, and I don't know what the outcome of that was, but in reviewing the materials made available to us previously and also reviewing the Knox and Ross report, this clearly seems to be a case of a failure of investigation at minimum, a failure of process and policy at minimum, and potentially fairly egregious case of corruption. And that seems fairly straightforward. I think that it's worth being open and putting the report out there for the monitor and for the judge to sort of, or for the judge to review, because it feels as though we are sitting on our hands when we'd prefer not to be, but we don't have good recourse. And if this is the recourse that's available to us, because, as I said, it's been pushed forward to the Department of Justice and nothing happened apparently, and I'm at a loss as to why. And so this seems like a reasonable course of action to potentially jumpstart that process.
Mr. Bey, would you like to address the commission on this item?
That in 2012, the CPRB Civilian Board, which preceded the OPC, and that they didn't have any of the teeth until Measure LL put it in there and recreated the OPC. They voted to forward a request for investigation of anti-Islamic post-9/11 bigotry by the Oakland Police Department to the Civil Rights Division of the Washington DOJ. The Civil Rights Division deals with, obviously, civil rights. The other side of the aisle is the law enforcement. Law enforcement was involved in the cases and failing. Federal law enforcement worked with OPD during the Joint Terrorism Task Force. So an answer came back to that letter, and it came back to the city administrator, and nothing ever happened to it. But the answer came back from the law enforcement side, and nothing ever happened. Civil Rights Division is the division that went into Ferguson. Civil Rights Division is the division that went into Milwaukee. Civil Rights Division is the division that went into St. Louis. All within the last couple of years based on, profiling and egregious corruption of OPD. So I just wanted to make clear that even though a letter went out to the DOJ, it was just a letter that dropped into a drop box in D.C., and there was never any action on that. So we really can't use that as an example that they were actually contacted or that there was any action on it, especially since the response went to the city, who we were complaining about as part of the cover-up. So just, for that clarity on the DOJ, and that toward that, having failed to get that letter to the DOJ, we're asking that this body again craft a letter to the DOJ Civil Rights Division. And the reason why is that the negotiated settlement monitor has known about this case, known about anti-Islamic, Islamophobia, racial profiling, and everything for over 10 years and has ignored it. Our issue is that you can't have a discussion about Task 5, which involves IAD, and never mention IAD 07-0538, IAD 131062, IAD 160146, and IAD 20-0218. 5 IADs that all are violations of Task 5. So when you go there to September and speak to the judge, to this day, 2023, no one has ever mentioned the Bey matter. And there's been plenty of meetings with the monitor. There's been plenty of case management meetings with the NSA. So until you actually put forth this evidence of Islamophobia, they can sit there and cross their arms and they be in the NSA and never deal with it. We already have an issue with Judge Orrick. Judge Orrick oversaw racial discrimination in the Tesla lawsuit, and a black man won $137 million. Judge Orrick, $137 million punitive decision against billion-dollar Tesla and the richest man in the world. Judge Orrick broke that, refused that, and broke it down and said, you only deserve $15 million. And then when he appealed it and went to the court, Judge Orrick allowed texts in from him that messed his case up. He ended up getting $2 million to split with the lawyers. My point being is that the NSA was created based on racial profiling and unconstitutional policing in the black community of West Oakland, specifically the writers. Since that point, the NSA has dealt with everything except for racial profiling. We keep bringing racial profiling issues forward, and the NSA is not dealing with it. You as a body were created because the NSA failed. If the NSA was doing its job, the people of Oakland wouldn't have voted as a supermajority to empower you with the power to take care of the Bey case when the NSA has failed. Just as you've heard Mr. Channon, how's Mr. Channon fail in the NSA for 20 years, and he's the person that's chairing the selection panel of the people who really should be holding the NSA accountable? You can't fail in the NSA and then fail at the selection panel and then also know about the Bey case, right? Because the way that the NSA is set up, there's only one channel to the NSA. That's through Mr. Channon, and also through the defendant, the city of Oakland. You represent the city of Oakland as a defendant in Allen versus Oakland. You represent it. So if you have evidence that violates the NSA, it's your fiduciary responsibility to notice the NSA. That's court order. It's also in Measure LL that says that regardless of what kind of issues you had with Ross, if there was evidence of Islamophobia, racial profiling, the charter says you are mandated to investigate that. It doesn't say anything that you have a limitation of 3304 in the charter. It says that there's a few things that you have to, use of force, and profiling of any protected group is mandated. So when Ross gave you that, whatever issues that you had, it said systemic Islamophobia in it. And you were mandated to work on it. The fact that it came out 2 years ago this month and showed you racial profiling, and then 2 years later we're talking about investigating and noticing racial profiling, and then you wonder why the community loses patience, right? Racial profiling has been here. May